Hi guys, this has to be one of the most bizarre and frankly frustrating things I've ever watched. The Speaker of the House of Commons was interviewed on GB News by two Tory MPs. Now that should be raising alarm bells at Ofcom, the regulator, but for some reason it isn't. Sir Lindsay Hoyle here, the chocolate teapot, defended the fact that Parliament doesn't really work and it's more about theatre than holding government to account. Yes, he touched on the odd MP attempting to get a minister to answer a question, but for him, it's more about balancing the charade with decorum. Absolutely terrible. Have a listen to this.
Now, coming back to PMQs, every Prime Minister has always said that they get really nervous before Prime Minister's questions. Do you as Speaker get nervous before Prime Minister's questions?
No, I'm very lucky. Everybody needs a Speaker Secretary, you know. I've got to say, Helen does all that for me. She gets all worked up, she gets all agitated, you know, as Chief of Staff. She's going to take that responsibility. Because I always look at it this way. It's a bit like everything. It's like an election. You're going to win or lose. Whatever you do won't change it. It's going to happen. So in the same way that I go to PMQs and I think, well, whatever will be, will be. I can only do my best. If I don't, well, so be it. So it's no point getting worked up for it. So I have a Helen that works up for it.
He chucks people out though on occasion. You chuck people out if you think they're getting a bit boisterous.
Well, on that, I mean, it's difficult. It strikes me as a difficult balance because it's like I always think it's like theatre, PMQs. It's sort of like half an hour of two football teams cheering on their own side, really, in Parliament. And so lots of people, you know, say, oh, you know, why don't MPs behave better in Parliament? It's a really bad look for Parliament. On the other hand, the only time people ever want to come to visit is to watch PMQs. And I always think if we were sat there in stony silence, it would be boring and nobody would be interested. So how do you balance the trying to keep it well behaved but not losing the atmosphere of the occasion?
Well, the good thing is, Philip, as you know, Philip, you're good there for that value. I've got to say, I keep my eye on you. One of those, I've got to just watch from the back benches. No, you're right. It is pure theatre. But it is a way of backbenchers holding a Prime Minister to account on something local or something national.
What a pile of crap. It's about theatre, but it's also about allowing backbenchers to hold a minister or Prime Minister to account, to hold the government to account. What a pile of crap. It's not about that. You allow ministers to lie to Parliament. You allow ministers to not answer questions. He's more interested in the theatre. Like when the point was raised about, well, it's a bit like two football teams cheering themselves on. He laughed. He actually laughed at that analogy. Yes, it's a bit of a joke, isn't it? It's more theatre than actual holding government to account. Its job is to hold government to account. Your job is to facilitate that. Now, I understand his powers are limited, but what is the point of Parliament if it's not holding government to account, where government ministers can stand up and the Prime Minister himself on many occasions has stood up and insulted the MP asking the question, insulted the electorate, especially happens with the SNP. But how many times has a question been asked of a minister and the minister starts talking about something else? Starts promoting the Conservative Party, starts attacking the opposition instead of actually answering the question. Now, I know it would be extremely boring, but wouldn't it be more in tune with actually holding government to account if an MP asked a question and the government minister responded by saying something like, yeah, that's an interesting question, and here is the answer. This is what we're doing in this area. This is what we would require of any other, I don't know, leader or councillor or on any other political level. You would expect to ask a question and for that question to be answered. Now, it may not be the best answer, but it would be at least an attempt. But that's not what happens in Parliament. Like, if you want to see the real workings, you have to look at the select committees where individuals are asked questions and they answer those questions. Now, not always perfectly, but much better to a much better standard than in the House of Commons. But once again, back to this point, for him, it's all theatre. It's all about charade. Yes, I allow MPs to try and hold ministers to account. But if they don't, well, that's fine. I'm not going to go any further. On occasion, he's had to step in and ask government ministers to stop asking the leader of the opposition, for example, a question, because it's not leader of the opposition question, it's PMQs.
And the fact is, you're right. As much as it's theatre, the world watch it. Because it's about trying to make sure we have atmosphere without it boiling up. We want it to simmer, but never quite boil up. So
Why? Why does it need to simmer? Why does it need to be about theatre? That's not its job. The job of Parliament is to hold governments to account. He seems more interested in the theatre.
it's getting that judgment right. But wherever I go in the world, I was in Canada, I'm walking down, a young person came up to me. You're the speaker. Yeah, I watch PMQs. I think it's wonderful. And wherever I go, people watch PMQs. And that just shows, yes, it's theatre. Yes, of course it matters. But the world wants to watch Prime Minister's question. Where else does that happen? What other parliament has that worldwide interest? And it is worldwide. So I've got to say, I think we get it right. And that's why we are the oldest and the finest democracy.
Democracy. Oh my goodness. Why, he's sniffing his own flatulence here. Oh, well, I went down the street and people were like, whoa, you're so cool. Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House of Commons. Hey, I watch you. I watch PMQs. It's like saying I watch cat videos or I watch fail videos. It shouldn't be about theatre. It should be about holding governments to account. It should be about MPs representing their constituents. MPs standing up and asking a question and that question being asked so that the public are informed. The media is completely corrupt. The public are not getting the information they need from the likes of the Daily Mail or the Express or the Sun. So you would hope that Parliament would hold government to account, but it doesn't. And this guy is laughing about it. It's all a massive joke. It's all a bit of a charade. And he's benefiting somewhat from the celebrity aspect too. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.